My story, how I got involved in adjusting, I've been a contractor for up to about 17 years before I started adjusting. Built homes, renovated homes, commercial and residential. One day I was in my office and my electrical contractor, brother, buddy, friend, walked by me as I was working on an estimate. He said, "Man, have you ever heard about this?" I'm like, "What's that?" He showed me a text. He had gotten a text from a friend of his who was also an electrician who had a cousin that worked in the accounting department for an adjusting firm in Canada. All right, I mean, you see all these connections, and that cousin sent his friend this text saying, "Man, look at these checks I'm cutting. You need to get into this industry." And so that young man, after receiving the text, sent it to my architecture friend, and he showed it to me. I'm like, "Is this real?" He was like, "Yeah, it's real." So I turned around, went back to my computer. I looked up insurance adjusting. I looked up the company that was on the text. I looked up the wage. I'm like, "Man, this thing's legitimate." When I got to the company, they had an emergency licensing training the very next day in Fort Myers, Florida, and I'm in Fort Lauderdale, 2.5 hour drive away. The very next day, and I'm like, you know what? Might as well give it a try. I'm just sitting in the office anyway. So I registered online immediately. Then I called them to make sure my seat was reserved because this was the very next day. I didn't know if they had a deadline or what because they was expecting Hurricane Irma to hit. So the state authorized emergency licensing. So I booked my hotel, got on my motorcycle, drove 2.5 hours, went to the training, and 3 days later I was a licensed insurance adjuster with an emergency license that's good for a year. And so while I was in the training, we was expecting Irma to hit in a couple, maybe a week, maybe within the following week, Irma was going to hit. At that time, I had a vacation schedule in San Francisco later on that month, like about the 26th. So I asked the guy that I was training, I said, "Would you recommend that I start after my vacation, or can I start now, go, and then come back?" I wish I never asked him that question. I, had I had the experience, I would have known that I could have worked those claims, went on vacation, write them up, come back and continue to work. I didn't know. So he said, "No, I think it'd be better if you just come back after vacation." I don't know if he was afraid that I wasn't going to come back at all. I have no idea, but I wish I never asked him. So I'm up in San Francisco. I anticipated when I would be coming back. So I called him and said, "Hey, I'm back. I'm ready to go." And then they started issuing me claims. Came back to Florida, hit the road, started running claims. I ran claims for, I want to say 22 days. They gave me about 18 claims to begin with, maybe gave me 4 or 5 more after that. Ran it for about 22 days, made $19,000. I said to myself, if I can make this part-time in such a short period of time, how would it work if I went full-time? That day I decided I was going to phase out my company. I took about 6 months to do it. You know what I'm saying? And then I hit adjusting full-time. And I've been busy ever since. Best decision I've ever made. A lot of times when I tell people I come from a general contract, they be like, "Man, you left general contract?" I say, "Yeah, easy." And they ask why. The reason being because in contracting I made a lot of money. But the money came in one hand, went out the other. You know what I'm saying? And so in insurance adjusting, I make good money as well, but I get to keep most of my money because I don't have the overhead of contracting. I don't have workers' compensation to worry about. I don't have the huge general liability for all my vehicles. I don't have to pay unemployment taxes for the workers that are working. I mean, can you believe that? As a company, I pay unemployment taxes for guys that are working. I mean, and the expenses went on and on and on. Every kind of way they can stick their hand in your pocket, the federal government did. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, that was an easy trade-off to get involved in the insurance industry. And I have not looked back since. I have been busy since. So this morning we're going to talk about this industry. And one thing I definitely want you to understand is that your investment today, this week, in what you're doing is gonna prove well worth it. And I'm gonna show you from the onslaught. I'm gonna show you today. The operating word that we're gonna be looking at, and we want to remember, is that word indemnify. My main goal this week is that you guys will grasp the concept of everything that we're going to be teaching. Everything that we're going to go through this week is in this booklet. I want you to take note of not only that it's in this booklet, I want you to take note of the order that it's in. Okay? First things first, right? We always want to get off on the right foot. I want you to take note of the order all of these steps are in. Because what I'm going to give you today, I'm going to give you a method to this madness of insurance adjusting. All right? I'm going to give you step by step what to do first, what to do next, and on and so forth. I'm going to give you the method. I average about 100 claims in 30 days on a storm. That's my average. All right? 100 claims in 30 days. The method I'm going to give you will give you the ability to do this very same thing. Will you do 100 claims in 30 days? Maybe not. Maybe you will. But what would it depend on? On your motivation. Right? Because it's a totally different lifestyle. When you're out there in deployment, it is no taking it easy. You know what I'm saying? Calling it a day after 3 o'clock, hitting the bar every night, unwinding, and think you're going to wake up the next day and do more claims? It's a totally different lifestyle. But you will have the tools to be able to do the very same thing, depending on your energy. And I'm not talking about being worn out and tore down every day. Okay? And you'll begin to understand. After today, you're going to be able to grasp, man, wow, this is so doable. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm going to give it to you step by step. Everything that we talk about, in the order that we talk about, is going to be here. So the main goal is going to be that you grasp the concept in every section we talked about. I don't expect you to remember everything step by step, but what I want you to do is grasp the concept. Because if you understand the concept, when you're out there in the field and you just get lost, you'll be able to ask yourself the right question and be able to go back and get the answer. You understand what I'm saying? You'll be able to ask yourself the right question, man, what do I do next? If you don't grasp the concept, we won't be able to do that. All right? So I want to make sure you guys grasp the concept as we go. This is the main concept. It's indemnity. That is the whole goal of insurance. Is to indemnify the insured. That is your overriding drive, motivation. That's what's going to drive you in every claim. It's not a matter of you outsmarting your manager. It's not a matter of you getting extra coverage. The main goal is that you're going to secure this insured against hurt, loss, and damage. That's the whole purpose of insurance. It's to indemnify the insured. That's the motivation. I don't know too many jobs or businesses or professions out there that you can help people and be well compensated in the process. There's not a lot of people blessed with that kind of opportunity. All right, you got people that have jobs that help people, but they're not well compensated. Teachers, for example, school teachers, come on, they're molding society, and they're one of the less paid professions out there. Police officers put their lives on the line every single day. They may not even get home, but they're not well compensated unless they've climbed that ladder and got to an upper echelon position. There's not many companies, not many jobs and professions out there that you can help people and be able to be well compensated. To make compensation due for incurred hurt, loss, or damage, I will say to you that right now, as we go through this week, I am going to be as honest, as transparent as possible. We want to get in on this huge industry, cash industry, all right, and help people in the process. So why did I share that information? Because your goal is to give the insured as much as their policy allows. I like to be able to approach a claim or approach a lost property with the confidence that when you see me show up at your door, you know that your insurance is looking for the best. They're looking to provide coverage. I will not work for an insurance company that does not want to provide coverage. I won't even represent them. Because everybody loses. The insured loses because they're not getting what they're due. You lose because you're not getting paid for the coverage that you're supposed to give that insured. Because you get paid according to whatever the amount is. Okay? Everybody loses. So I would not get on the roster of companies. And I have worked with a couple insurance companies that don't want to pay. Here's one example. I was working up in Maryland. There's one insurance company did a commercial claim, wrote up the roof for $90-some thousand. In Maryland, they have a matching law that if you change out a shingle, the shingle must match. If it doesn't match, you have to replace the entire roof. Well, this particular insurance company says, you know what? We want you to repair the roof. Knock my estimate down from 90-some thousand to 17,000. Their anticipation is that if the insured complains, then we're going to turn around and write the rest of the roof. They already have made up their mind, we're going to write the whole roof, but we want them to ask for it. That's just all kinds of wrong. All right, that was one of my last deployments from September to December. I would never work for All right, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. All right, but I'll share the information, but when we're on camera, okay? But there's companies out there that are like that. They're not looking for the best interest of the insured. There are insurance companies that do not explain the depreciation process, recoverable and non-recoverable. When the property is depreciated and they have a recoverable a RCV policy, after the work has been completed, they can request that recoverable depreciation that was taken off the top. Okay? They can request it. But some insurance companies, they're banking on the fact that they may not even know that they can request that depreciation back. All right? So do I tell the insured? Yes. Sure, right? I tell the insured. When they call me and say, hey, man, I don't even have enough money to repair my roof. I understand, sir, but according to your policy, after the work is done, you can request that money's to be given back to you. And there are some carriers that if they can provide a signed contract with a contractor, they can get that recoverable depreciation up front, as opposed to waiting until the work is done. But that's not explained to them during the claims process. Now, thankfully, there are more companies out there that want to provide coverage for the insured, thankfully. But you do have those bad actors out there. Okay? And that is why PAs is a thriving industry here in the state of Florida. All right? We lead the country in litigation. All right? In insurance litigations. So our main goal is to indemnify the insured. All right? Any questions so far? This industry is one of the most lucrative and volatile industries. Insurance adjusting is broad. It can be many different areas of insurance adjusting. You got property, you got auto, you got agriculture, and I'm sure you guys learned this in your licensing classes, right? There are some things that I'm going to talk about that you should have learned in licensing class. If you're not sure what it is, please don't hesitate to raise your hand. All right? I am going to try to give the most lean and mean class this week. We're going to cut out all the fat. All the unnecessary stuff that we don't need, I ain't even going to talk about it. But I am going to give you everything when it comes to adjusting. I am going to give you tools. I'm going to give you applications. I'm going to give you everything that I use to be successful. All right? Everything that I use to be successful. So this industry is huge. You got property, you got auto, you got agriculture, you got marine, environmental, what are you going to say? Aviation. I mean, it's huge. All right? It's huge. And your license covers every last one of them. If you're an all lines adjuster, every last one of them. We really have no excuse not to be busy. It's just our motivation. What do we want to do? What do we want to get into? All right? And that's up to us. The different avenues of adjusting that we want to do.